Hi, this is my presentation for Module 6, the Student Success Model. And let me share my screen here real quick. Okay. So the Student Success Model that I chose to focus on was MTSS because of the universal design aspects of accommodations. In my experience previously with other accommodation systems, they haven't really been universal and been able to be applied to different targeted areas of education, I guess. So in my experience, multi-tiered systems of support help ensure that students are being accommodated and supported throughout their experiences in different classrooms, interactions with different teachers, as well as their experiences with administrators and support staff. Whereas maybe a PBIS model of student success would only be for that student's one classroom, and it would mostly be behavior based, not necessarily focused on academic intervention as well. What's neat about MTSS is that there are universal accommodations for both behavior and academic success, as well as many other aspects, and it kind of puts pressure back on the students and the teachers. Sorry, puts pressure back on the teachers to then help the students. At my school, we use the MTSS model to help create general education intervention plans for students who are at risk and failing more than 2 core classes. So the whole student system is inventoried, and then those who are failing more than 2 core classes and are considered at-risk students will be kind of progressed through the 3-tiered system of support. As an educator, I kind of said this already, but I appreciate that the support that the MTSS offers for students as well as teachers as we work to help, everyone helps work towards student success. So I like that I'm offered support as an educator as well as the student being offered support. Some research-based strategies for intervention. I picked up this article that talks about the main goal of MTSS coaching specifically, because that's kind of like, I don't know, as an educator, that's almost more important to me than what the student is doing. I want to be coached in how to successfully support them. And Freeman states that MTSS targets improvement in academic and behavioral outcomes for all students and stresses the importance of implementation fidelity and leadership capacity. So it's both a coaching program for educators and students that requires kind of both of us to get on our A game to make sure that we're creating the best experience for a student. The goal of MTSS coaching, furthermore, is to guide students and educators through the 5 different phases of learning. Again, I think it's really important that educators are included in this progression as well, because as educators, as we move through this MTSS coaching, we are acquiring new skills, we are practicing fluency with those skills, we're hopefully maintaining those skills, we are generalizing those skills to not only the student that's in the MTSS progression, but also other students in our course. And then we are adapting those skills for other educational opportunities. Same with students, they're acquiring new skills, whether that be advocating for themselves, whether that be academic skills, they're practicing the fluency of those advocacy skills, they're maintaining those skills, they're generalizing them, they're applying all of these different study skills and habits and patterns of communication to other areas of their life, and then hopefully they are adapting to different environments using those skills. The progress of universal screening and tiered support, again, is included in the framework of MTSS and is also research-based. So all students are included in Tier 1, but then in the Tier 2 progression are students who are specifically identified with like qualifiers that your school would decide on. And so for us, again, that's an at-risk student who is failing 2 or more core classes, and then they are monitored for a specific amount of time, given different accommodations for teachers to implement, and then if those implementations of those base level accommodations are not successful, then us as educators would refer those students to a Tier 3 process, where they are have a general education intervention, are given accommodations, and are in more constant communication with teachers and other support networks within the school. One article that I found that was interesting and an example of how you could apply MTSS and to all kinds of different levels and areas of education is this article about working with racial and ethnic minority students. And because MTSS is equity-based and needs-driven, this article states that MTSS has the potential to reduce disparities in mental health problems, as well as increase access to mental health treatment, especially for minoritized youth. So if these systems for intervention are based on academic performance as well as behavior performance, and not necessarily on targeting a student based on their racial and ethnic minority status, they have the ability to kind of counter some of the unfortunate bias and explicit racism that many students from minority groups experience on a day-to-day basis in school. Part of MTSS is working with mental health professionals and systems of support and listening to contextual factors from home. And all of those things have to do with race and ethnicity. If we're talking about cultural norms and customs that come from home or come from school, oftentimes behavior results as a clash of those two belief systems. So I think it can be a really, if implemented well and in a healthy way, in a culturally responsive way, can be a really great tool for targeting some of that racism in the school system. To promote social and emotional development among REM youth, consideration must be given to the cultural and contextual based factors that impact their well-being. Just like I was saying, their well-being is impacted by their life at home, their belief system, and how that transfers to school, and our own belief systems and the belief systems of their educators. And MTSS kind of gets everyone on the same page and provides advocacy voices for students who may not feel comfortable advocating for themselves in the face of a teacher who may not be providing accommodations that they need or understanding of their cultural context that the student needs to be successful. And it's reminding us again that if MTSS is viewed as a framework for culturally responsive mental health promotion and intervention, it should focus on creating school climates conducive to REM students' well-being and success. So in general, overall, the school climate should be one of care and community-based well-being, which is tier 1, surveying all students and ensuring that they are being not only successful in their grades, but successful in their behavior. Integrating culturally responsive practices could be part of tier 2 and tier 3 interventions to improve mental health outcomes for REMS youth. So I thought that article was a really excellent article as and kind of showing how MTSS is both an accountability tool for students and teachers and their support team. Here's some remaining questions based off of that research that I found. I wonder how we can clearly communicate to students that the MTSS model is there to support them and to ensure that their educators are learning how to best support them in the same process. So like my learning as an educator and their learning as a student is kind of wrapped up in one bundle. And I think that that could be really empowering. And I wonder, in line with that, are students aware of their own agency within this progression? Do they know that this is both an accountability tool for their experiences with adults and their experiences as a student? How can teachers move to understand the universality of an MTSS system within both general level education courses and honors or AP courses? So we actually just had a meeting at my school about tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, and I'm part of a group that is monitoring a bunch of tier 2 students before they get referred to tier 3, and kind of part of the process of deciding if they should be included in tier 3 processes. And I got into a little kerfuffle with a fellow peer who teaches an AP course. He was really frustrated that a student taking an AP course would be on his case level because in his mind, the accommodation of taking a lower level course was already there. However, I think that undermines the MTSS model because I don't think that the courses that the student is enrolled in should have an impact on their MTSS accommodations. We know that many neurodiverse students can be highly successful in advanced courses if they're given accommodations. And so I wonder how we can coach teachers on understanding the importance of accommodations, the importance of accountability, even in an AP class that does have a pre-prescribed curriculum, but that doesn't take away our agency as educators to chunk things up or re-explain things or create different behavior modifications so that all students can be successful in that AP course. The resources that I brainstormed were GEI coordinators, of course, general education coordinators, the MTSS coordinator is included in that, counselors and building administrators, special education services. This is, of course, different than a GEI, but could be helpful. Student guardian contact information, IEP and 504 plans, again, different than GEI, but still helpful for kind of a general hub or brainstorming group of successful accommodations that have helped students in the past. Occasionally pair support during instructional time. I know that that is like rare gold for my school district, so it's not always a given thing, but it's helpful when it's there. Department collaboration to share ideas between colleagues, as well as teacher mentorship programs. I like brainstorming with my mentor teacher on different ways that I can accommodate students, and also for myself to keep track of all the paperwork that's involved with monitoring students on this tiered progression. Here are my 2 resources from the articles that I pulled from. I also pulled from the sources that were listed in our course. Thank you for listening.